The Waterline Live. Join the climate conversation with Jonathan Levy.
My name's William Joyce. I'm Innovation Lead for Industrial Decarbonisation at UKRI. So I'm technical lead for a £210 million funding stream which is investing in CCS and hydrogen to decarbonise industrial clusters in the UK. And the reason why I'm here today is that the Humber industrial cluster is one of the largest 6 industrial clusters in the UK. We support a number of onshore projects on the Humber with innovation funding and also an offshore project as well.
So what's the role of your organisation in general?
So we provide funding support, so major funding investments into projects, innovation funding which will help projects take on those early market entry risks and ultimately enable what they're doing to be profitable and self-sustaining themselves. So we go from a position where government funding helps a project to enable industry then to take it forwards after that end of the funding period. So carbon capture and storage, we're funding our projects to undertake engineering studies, so complex design studies which will enable them to begin construction at the end of the project period and then enter operation later this decade, essentially enabling the rollout of the wide-scale rollout of CCS in the Humber cluster.
And the big challenge for this carbon capture and storage, or at least what people talk to me about, is the ability to scale it up to what's going to be needed.
Yeah, I think the key point here is that the innovation is not the technology. The technology already exists at demonstration stage, but it's the scale up of that technology at a scale that we've never seen anywhere else in the world before. The ambitions of these projects are tremendous. They're going to be first of a kind, global, world-leading projects in terms of size, ambition, and they're going to be real flagship projects for the UK as we move forward to create a profitable carbon capture and storage industry.
Because there's a lot riding on this, isn't there? As part of our overall strategy to achieve net zero, we really need to make this work.
Oh, absolutely. I think, the Climate Change Committee have said that we won't achieve net zero without the wide-scale rollout of carbon capture and storage. We already have major government funding commitments behind that. I think if you look into the Humber, the Humber is the UK's largest emitting industrial cluster. I think it accounts for between 30 to 40% of the nation's industrial emissions. So it's tremendously significant that we decarbonise the Humber region to meet that national net zero target. So I'm delighted to be able to speak to that effect today.
Yeah, and the Humber, as you may realise, it is under the sort of global spotlight. The World Economic Forum and Accenture have it as one of the major industrial clusters transitioning towards net zero, and regions around the world are looking closely at what the Humber's doing. So is this also building an export opportunity for the UK, if you like, to develop an export knowledge and technology that's going to help other places solve this problem as well?
I think what we're doing at the moment is we're developing that high level infrastructure, but that infrastructure, that backbone, will need to be filled with UK content, components, services, and also people who are going to build and then operate these major projects. So I think there are opportunities for UK companies to get involved in CCS right the way across the value chain, and that includes being able to export UK potential, capability, services, goods, people and skills. And also, we haven't touched upon CO2 import as well. We've got a tremendous offshore CO2 storage capacity just off the Humber coastline. And there's an opportunity for CO2 shipping to import CO2 into the Humber cluster to make that an internationally profitable industry, to make the Humber a hub for CO2 import. So it's going to be a very big industry for this region.
So this could become a hub for, if you like, burying the world's carbon.
Well, it's a good point because, we have, in terms of offshore CO2 storage capacity on our continental shelf, we have an equivalent capacity to the rest of mainland Europe. And that, in combination with our projects being in advanced stages of development, we have a real potential to become a world leader in carbon capture and storage technology. So it is very important that we capitalise on that, and this market is developing this decade. It's a growing global market, so we need to make sure that we act quickly and we're at the forefront of that developing market to ensure that we do become a world leader in carbon capture and storage.
And having buried that carbon is the next big task to see if we've got some uses for it, if we can manufacture something out of it or produce something out of it.
It's a good point. I think, carbon capture and storage, we have industries in the Humber and across the country where carbon dioxide is part of the chemistry of an industrial process. So steel, cement, chemicals industries, there's no alternative way of being able to get round that chemistry of that industrial process without capturing and storing the CO2. So I think to enable those industries to sustainably continue, CCS is it is the only option to enable that. We're storing CO2 in safe geological formation in perpetuity forever. And we have hundreds of years of storage capability at our disposal to be able to use just offshore on the continental shelf off the Humber. So it all makes total sense that yes, we need a diverse energy mix and a number of different solutions, but for these high emitting industries where the important thing is where the CO2 is part of the chemistry of that process, there's no alternative other than to use carbon capture and storage to achieve net zero for those particular industries.
So what do you hope delegates will take away from what you've got to say here today?
So the Humber region is the UK's largest emitting industrial cluster. It's essential that we decarbonise the Humber region to meet our national net zero target. We have a number of projects that we support in the Humber cluster. We want those projects to continue, and at the end of our programme they will take investment decisions on entering construction and operation to achieve a low carbon industrial cluster by 2030 and then potentially the world's first net zero carbon industrial cluster by 2040.
Join the climate conversation with Jonathan Levy, a Blue Aurora media production for Marketing Humber.